Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Age of Empires for Pro League playoffs. We have got the final quarterfinals waiting to get underway to see who will proceed through to the semifinals and keep their dream alive of getting the lion's share of that $20,000 prize pool. That's right. A lot of money on the line, even in a 3-on-3. It's a decent lump sum that needs to go to someone. We're about a minute out from beginning, and we are going to have Los Pollos Hermanos versus Vietnam Legends. Vietnam Legends, after their brothers-in-arms, the VCL crew, got booed out. They are the last Vietnamese representing the home country here in Liddicore's $20,000 tournament. Shout out to him, by the way, for running this. It's been phenomenal to watch. I'm so glad we got to see something other than just 1v1 tournaments, because I think it shows you just how much depth the game has. And we're looking for that depth, right? So far, Dry Arabia has been dictated by Rus, France, and Mongols. And one team will stick to that meta hardcore. They'll die by it. They'll live by it, die by it, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. But on the other side, Vietnam Legends have mixed it up. They've gone for something they've tried before that backfired in a previous series. They are going to be running the Rus and the France, but they're going to be filling the gap. The final choice is going to be Cool on his signature England, seeing if he can apply enough pressure early on. And this should be stated enough. This cannot actually be stated enough, rather. When you do pick England in this format, you need to be the tempo setter. You can't afford to be behind, and we're going to see if they can get ahead as we commence with game number 1. Like we said, one deviation is going to be England. Standardized meta coming out from Los Pollos Hermanos. Nothing out of the ordinary. We have seen this draft too often. Lucifron will be in the north of the French. Meanwhile, the centralized player is going to be manned by VortiX, and it is going to be the Rus. Interesting to put the Rus in the center. We talked about how some teams, they deviate this. Some teams actually like to drop France in the center just because they tend to want to have that option to be a bit greedy, get a castle a bit quicker. And also, castle rushing as Rus comes along so fast that it doesn't tend to hurt them, right? Being on the flank. Whereas other civs, say if you were trying to be greedy with China, there might be a more exploitable window there. Rus tend to function well as an outer civ. And in fact, when we look on the other side, we'll see exactly that, as Bact is going to be stationed on the outskirts. And this is the switch up. Compared to when we last saw them run this draft, Vietnam Legends, when they last done this, they actually had the England player on the flank. But they've done something very interesting. They've twisted it. They've put the England lad in the center. So the static army lad is going to be a bit quicker to reinforce on either side. They actually have the dynamic choice of going south or north in this situation. This can somewhat backfire because it's you basically jack of all trading instead of all in on the strategy. And it means although you can respond to an attack on your north or south flank quicker as England, the weakness is that it's going to be harder to get that initial group of archers out and quickly into your opponent's base because you're that much further away. We'll see if it pays off, though. It does mean Bact could brunt an assault because, remember, he is directly opposite TheMista, and TheMista is playing as the Mongols. Mongols really good at trying to pressure the Rus early on, get down a few outposts and deny them on the wood line. And if you can prevent the wood line in this game, it breaks the game, I think. Look at it right now. Bact, he's pretty condensed. The beauty about playing Mongols directly across from this is if you move across and drop an outpost on the left side and then drop another one on the right, there's no way that Bact can access his most critical resource. He can't get wood for trade, he can't get it to get into the horse archers, and it traps him in a situation where he can't actually play the Castle Age Rush. We'll see if he opts into it, though. No villager shift just yet. Some players do like to go rapido aggression immediately, others chill for a bit. Mist, as it stands, hasn't even got the resources together to be able to drop a Rax because he went greedy. He went for the pasture. Usually this is a sign of a Mongol player that intends to rush into castle, whereas the alternative is dropping either a Rax or a stable, and then you tend to move a villager out for outposts. So it means that this opening game, Vietnam Legends are going to get away with a very chill start. And I don't know if this was done intentionally by Pollos Hermanos because of the England detail, right? Whether they're paranoid a bit about this aggressing them. But I think this is maybe a missed opportunity. I don't like the way that they've chosen to just chillax a little. I'd say if the game goes late enough, like, yes, you're going to be stronger. If all these civs are in Castle Age, I actually favor the comp over Vietnam Legends. But I think with their layout, there's definitely an exploitable detail that is just being skipped by Pollos Hermanos. So tech up's underway. How are we looking on the Rus count right now? As we've got Bact, he's sitting at 250. Meanwhile, VortiX is at 255. So they are more or less drawn at this point. Looks like they're both quickly on their way to cracking into the 500 at this pace, as I would expect on this map. It's just too big to really fail. It's very hard to miss the 500 mark If you don't get it initially off of deer, sheep, and wolves, you'll definitely crack it off of the boars because there's a bunch of them around. In fact, when we look, we can see one here, and one over here, and one in the north. And remember that they are worth 75 gold each. Very easily sniped the moment you crack into castle and get your initial group of horse archers out. Usually the center one is the one that's taken. The outskirt ones tend to be too far away to take your main army over there, considering how long even cavalry takes to cross a map this big. So first one to crack tech up is actually going to be VortiX. Expect the Roost players to be a little bit ahead on the tech ups. Definitely the feudal, most definitely on the castle. Nobody should match that. It's going to be the other two civs on each side that are going to hang around in the feudal and duke it out. Usually. And I say usually for a good reason, and it's because of this variable putting Cool in the center. When we did last see Cool play, like we said, he was on the flank, but the other important detail to keep in mind is after the initial Lombo aggression failed, he fell back and tried to tech boom up. He, in fact, went multi-TC, and I recall in that game, he did manage to, towards the end, get the resources together for an Imperial Age, but it never was quick enough for them to get back in the game. They were actually shut out. There was just too much aggression. And I think that's the delicate detail. That's going to be the weird choice that I'm watching for, is if Cool tries to play Ultra Greed, because Dry Arabia tends to be decided in the Castle Age. It's very rare that we start talking about Imperial Age on such an open map in which cavalry can raid easily into your economy lines. So Stable's now being dropped by Mista. Mista, is he going for it? No. Good. I have to check. I've seen too many games where a greedy boy decides to get pro scouts and, well, he looks up and sees his team at his pro scouts too. But in this case, VortiX should be the only one getting it for his team. And as I say that, oh, wow. Lucifron is going pro scouts as well. I really don't like this. I think it's kind of cool. Like, it can have some value if you deliver to Mista, and the argument can be he's so far off to the south that he needs a second player invested in it to deliver carcasses. But overall, my issue is, like, you're stepping on each other's toes, right? You're right on top of each other here. So you're going to traffic a lot of the same area as you run back to base. It's going to leave this a lot less optimal than if, say, for example, Lucifron and Mista were both the pro scouts, which, of course, would never happen because the Roost player's got to be one of the two. I just still, in general, I'm not a big fan of double pro scout. Bact, on the other hand, should end up being the only one getting pro scouts. England most definitely won't. Meanwhile, in the north, wow. Yeah, he's going to do it too. So ACCM does it. So no edge given either way over, as two players from both sides will grab pro scouts here. However, I don't think Bact... Has ACCM even got that many pro scouts in the field? No? 4, maybe? Lucifron, I think he's up at 6. Yeah, so Lucifron's going to get the lion's share here. Bit of a mistake in the way ACCM done this. A little bit slower up, a little bit slower to get the scouts out, and as a result, he's not going to get as much bang for buck out of it as Lucifron will. Meanwhile, England stacking the longbows. Not moving out yet. Usually when you build these longbows, you'll just push them across. You just waypoint them across to your enemy's base. You amass 9 just outside, then you push in. I think in this situation, Cool is a little bit more paranoid because he's further away from the battlefield, right? So it could be easier for your opponent to get a few knights in position as you trickle in as 1 or 2 of these longbows. So I do expect him to hang back until he's got maybe about 12 longbows and then push out. But it looks like he's going to move 8. And by the time he's moving across the field, he should be up to that 10 mark, 11, maybe 12. The problem is what Mista's doing. Look at it. Look at it. Straight in the eyes. The horsemen already coming out from the Mongols. And it means that you're going to struggle to find this pressure if you're cool in this game. You're going to have to keep your cool. And it looks like he's actually going to keep his greed. He's actually going hard into the stones. This is going to be a secondary TC. So as expected, he's going to be playing a much more greedy style for better reasoning than we saw in the previous game where he done this. Last time he done it, he was on the flank. He was the one under fire. It made no sense, and both of his teammates had to try and wipe his ass for a good 20 minutes before they crapped the bed. This time around, going straight into it without hesitation, I prefer this. I think this is a very strong play out of England. It's not done enough, especially in these team games. In the team games, usually you treat them as the bottom. They just get thrown under the bus. But they do have a lot of scalability to them. If you rush into a TC and then prep for that King's Pass later, you're up to 3 TCs. When you scale into late Castle into Imperial, England tends to bounce back very hard. We even see this when we look at the stats from pub games. They are one of the best civs for winning in Imperial past. It's because of the way that their spearmen and the man-at-arms scale quite nicely. When you move to static armies and being able to stack siege becomes less of a relevant issue. And then in conjunction with that, the network of castles, right? When you start to get that static line down, you get that juiced up attack speed, they're very hard to contest. Meanwhile, Mista trying to be a little bit aggressive, a little bit punching. Instead of getting punched himself, we'll lose the one to Magadai. Magadai, very pricey, remember. 120 food. Does not feel good to spend that. 120 food, 40 gold. Costing more than a horse archer, and in a one-on-one, a horse archer will always win. Yes, you drive by. I aware that's meant to be your edge, but when you consider you have 3.5 range to a 5-tower range on a horse archer, and you pay more for it, it doesn't feel good even if you do get it a whole age earlier. Magadai, we have seen utilized by quite a few players more recently, especially on Dry Arabia. It's very situational. I don't expect to see it when we move back to talking about 1v1 formats. It doesn't feel like the window is big enough in the game. Usually, people move from feudal to castle so quickly that you can just get outscaled. If we were to move to a longer feudal timing meta, right, where, say, like Castle Age costs got nerfed, so they cost a lot more, I think then Magadai become a lot more dominant and a lot more scary because they're mobile cavalry that fire on the go and they're accessible in the feudal. ACCM looking for Luciferon's accessible economy here, but off the mark, misclick, not correctly microed here. ACCM did not get the charge in. He could have sniped out 2 villagers, and instead, he's going to be running for the high hills. Yeah, he's not even hanging around. If he turns around, he loses the night division, and he doesn't want to be behind on the count from Luciferon. That's the one edge he has, because remember we said Luciferon went heavy into scouts early compared to ACCM. So it means that he's a little bit behind on the night count, but when you make mistakes like this, it's going to even up, as we can see. A lot of damage done. So both the Roost players are teched up. Horseman keeping the pressure, though. Look at this. Getting picked apart as he rides out. Remember, these horsemen do get bonus damage up against the horse archers because, of course, horsemen get bonus damage against any ranged unit. And even when they're in their normie feudal status, doing 18 damage per poke makes them good traders up against the horse archers in conjunction with the Hardened Khan providing that maneuver arrow to gap close quicker. Right now, he doesn't have the outpost network down. That's what they were trying to snipe out and prevent him from doing. Had this gone down, you're in a lot of trouble. The Falcon would have revealed your villager line, which would have got sniped. And also, the Yam movement speed would have made these troops unassailable. Longbow's in place from Cool. Nice move there. He's not under pressure, remember. He's looking to scale himself, but he does have a small army that he's going to need to use to defend his flanks. Meanwhile, in the north, ACCM stacking a lot of knights. The problem is he can never reach these horse archers, and he's slowly being punished for it. Luciferon looking like he's trying to play a more greedy style. Still a lot of scouts, a lot of people on the gold. I wonder if he's trying to leave himself wiggle room to tech up ahead of ACCM. I don't like that. I'd rather see him apply pressure first and then fall back after he's raided his opponent, which is what's happening now as he tries to strike in, but unable to hang around, just too many of the knights here. And Mista will crack castle. So 2 members of Los Pollos Hermanos now sitting up in the castle, and this is where the Lancer spam comes in. Mongols get a huge booster on their economy at this stage. This is why a lot of these players are playing with the early pasture drop. They don't go into, say, the stables or the racks. You can gamble against the right composition. It's actually the right play because you get outposts down and choke them out. But in this situation, I prefer this play here because Lance is going to be very powerful, especially with the Yam movement speed. It's been very powerful. VortiX looking scary here. Trying to burn through the outposts. Using the scouts as cannon fodder. And Luciferon's going to join him in that dance. They all move in. And that's going to be 5 villagers left out in the middle of no man's land. No way really to protect them. The Horse Archer Mike are really on point from VortiX. The blockade coming in. And now the reinforcements have arrived. Cool. Trying to move across here to assist. We'll force them back. Not enough Horse Archers remaining to deal with the Longbows and the Knights. But nice micro to snipe out a few more before peeling back. Meanwhile, in the south, neutralization on the sacred sites. As it looks like Bact is trying to get a little bit of extra gold trickle. AFK Monks just sitting here doing nothing, though, is a little bit unfortunate. And a lot of pressure in the south as the Horse Archers get caught out of position by the Horsemen. These Horsemen that have not been upgraded, because now he's going to trade out. Mista doesn't actually care about the Horsemen anymore. When we look back in his base, it's all about Lancers, baby. Lancers win you this game now. He just needs to get the outpost network down. That's the critical detail. He needs to keep the Yan movement speed up, and if he does, he doesn't need Horsemen for gap closing. Because with Yan, you actually move fast enough with Lancers to reach up and stab into those Horse Archers. Raiden again. I think this moment has passed. You need to back up. VortiX is getting a little bit overly aggressive now. It was a nice attempt, but now with Cool in place, it doesn't work. I think your best play is to strike Cool, but a lot of players get paranoid about this. Even when you talk about static armies. Hello? What has happened here? Okay, we returned. Apologies for that, folks. We had a little bit of a crash. We dropped. We're back in, though. So when we left, we were talking about the fact that Lombos are going to be very static, right? So now you're in a situation where you still have this dynamic duo raiding around. And this is a little bit threatening because, cool, he's going to get pulled back and forth unless one of his teammates can start to apply pressure. Bact is trying to do that, but with the Lancers coming in the field, if the YAM network ever gets down, he's going to have the edge to run straight through and kill off Bact. So you need to be very careful. I think cool... It's a cool idea what they've done here, but when you're forced to do this, it doesn't feel good. They're raiding into him. This is the switch up. They see the army away from home, and they exploit the fact that you're so static and out of position. And straight away, you have to garrison in. You can't even complete the production of this building. Everyone garrisons in. A lot of economy exposed here, and they're going to ride deeper, and I think they're going to discover it. They're going to notice what's in the back here. They see the TC because the scouts give the vision, and now they can run rampant through your economy. And this is going to stunt the growth of the English. Tries to build more outposts. He's building, he's spamming as much possible. He's like, God, please, please, hide them all. Under the floorboards, don't let them know. And as a result, now they can reconvene to the south. The south where I'm expecting a certain Mongol player to show up soon. Instead, he comes in on the north. In with the Lancers. Too many Lombos. This is a backfiring move out of Mista. I don't like this right now. He needs reinforcements. VortiX is moving across, though. And he's buying enough time that he's going to reinforce this just in the nick of time. Lucifron, in the meantime, is going to castle up. Cool about to complete himself. Has to rush for it. Is being butchered in the meantime. Will manage to garrison hard into the White Tower and repel them away. But what is the damage? You have to question it right now. On the home field, losing out here. And I have to wonder where the hell is Bact in the midst of this. He was chasing to the south, trying to annihilate a bunch of scouts, and is thus out of position for the primary fight. Cool. Lombos finally arrived back in base just in time to keep him in this. That was a delicate and fragile state to find yourself in, though. But it has put you on the back burner. Cool. Now sitting at 53 eco. For reference, let's look at someone who hasn't been assaulted in their base. 54 on Lucifron. Of course, he's France. That's a little bit unfair of a comparative. But even VortiX at 47. And VortiX didn't go for a secondary TC. And Lombos keep chasing for the moment. Still has the outpost network. They need to burn these down. Treat this like you would a Mongol player. Don't let these exist. The problem is they struggle to get rid of them when it's so close to the Allies' base. That is where they're suffering. Still, no move out of Mista to drop these outposts. I think this is a big mistake, and it is costing him a lot of ability to influence this game. Because these Lancers, yeah, they're speedy. They are cavalry. That horse is weighed down. It takes a long time to arrive. And there we go. That's what you need. Get the villager out. Start building this up. Nice, good play. I love that. Comes out to drop an outpost, immediately plays further away from the outpost. Has to head north. VortiX now with a lot of horse archers, though. Oh, and they could pinch him. Bact is a little bit out of position. I don't think he knows yet, either. No, he has no eyeballs on this, so he might lose the horse archer battalion. They are completely out of position. And look what else they're going to find. Lucifron's arriving as well, so everyone is here. He's running into a big fat mess. That's what he's about to make in his pants. Look at the cutoff. Mista just trying to cycle around the side here. Khan isn't here. That's the one good piece of news for Bact, and it looks like he'll get some of these away at least. However, the army is building, and I'm concerned that Bact isn't matching VortiX at all. VortiX is currently up at 46. When we look at Bact, it's 39. But where are those 39? They're stuck back at base. They're out of position. Instead, your allies are about to get raided. They're diving in. And so many villagers trying to work here, trying to build up ACCM. They ride straight through. A full retreat into all the outposts, trying to get inside the TCs as well. A few of these are going to get sniped out, killed off before they can get in. And it's a ride straight through. This is their power. Wallalot on the side. Just going to scare off Lucifron, but too late. So Bact now owns one knight. But nothing happening elsewhere. It's just in the base that matters here. The raid in is putting a lot of pressure onto ACCM right now. And ACCM, he's not able to scale up his knights once more. In trouble, remember, he never teched up. He's the problem here. Veteran Royal Knights from Lucifron are going to ride in, and they can trade out with the Royal Knights well. Reinforcements are finally going to arrive to repel them away, but always on the defensive and always doing this dance. Cool can never seem to be in position quick enough, and that's the detail that matters. They just dance off again. And what is your move right now? You're being outscaled. ACCM is never teching up here. He can't move. He's always under pressure, and you're always on the defensive, and that's actually going to force the GG. They tried it. They experimented. They mixed it up, and I will give them credit. They did give a different twist onto England. But once again, they're proven wrong here. Cavalry will reign supreme on Dry Arabia as Los Pollos Hermanos will take game 1. Very odd finish to the game. I will say that, by the way. Apologies for that, folks. We did come in. I think there might have been a slight overlap. I'll try and edit that together for the YouTube side. But yes, we got kicked out halfway through. We come back in, and kind of surprising the way they GG'd out. I do think they GG'd out a little bit early there, but I understand why. I think they understood that this was just going to turn into a very fatiguing, tedious game of cat and mouse where they can never quite catch the mouse, right? And that mouse actually has the bubonic plague, which is going to kill the house owners, and then the cat has nowhere to live, and then all of a sudden you're a street cat, but you were raised as a house cat, so you're not ready for the hardness of the streets. And the house cat of Vietnam Legend just wasn't ready for that. That's the problem, right? Like, that was a weird way to go with that. Spin the stories, baby. But the reality of that situation is if they do choose to play that game out, they're going to go 30, 40 minutes, and they're still going to keep running up and down the whole time. And slowly but surely, that lead is going to keep building and building and building for Los Pollos Hermanos until it floods through and kills their opponents. There's never a move forward. That's the problem. England, I think the really important detail is cool. Before he gets raided on his eco lines, he feels like he can actually scale, right? He's like, this is a bit dicey. It's a little bit unorthodox, but I'm getting enough villagers quick enough that I can boot him up. The moment he's forced to drop the white tower in his base, he gets assaulted on it, delayed, and then loses a bunch of villagers. That's a double downer. Not only do you delay the castle age timing, but also you stripped him of the option to go for a king's palace instead. So he now needs to replace all these villagers. He's no longer ahead. We compared it, right? He only had a few more villagers than, say, VortiX, who's playing 1 TC as Roos, yet he had that TC for several minutes already. And I think that's enough to convince Cool this isn't going to work. There was probably a little bit of communication. They were probably like, what do we do now? And when there was a silence, they just go, I guess we call this game. Because the pressure was going to keep mounting on the French player. The Roos player doesn't matter. The only one you're worried about is France, and that is the difference maker. We've seen so many games where it's decided by which team gets their French player up in the castle first. And this is another example, and in the end, what we said at the beginning comes true. Most Dry Arabia games are decided in Castle Age. So playing off the back of this idea that maybe you bounce back in Imperial of England is too far off. It's never going to arrive. You're being delusional. And as a result, Vietnam Legends, they want to exist and thrive in the real world. They will accept reality, they will take the loss, and game number 1 will go to Los Pollos Hermanos. We're going to be going to Danube River. Danube River, you already know what's coming out. I think I've kind of just drilled it into your brains by now. Delhi reigns supreme. Delhi is definitely going to be coming out, and it looks like we are going to get treated to China on both sides. Now, this is interesting because China was taken on both sides, but not HRE. HRE that is just kind of signature alongside Delhi on Danube River. But because of that deviation in the first series, where the Vietnam Legends decided to go for England, that now leads to the ripple effect. Whenever we talk about the mirror matchup in the opening game, the reason it's so important that comes out is it tends to set the pace for the rest of the series, because maps tend to be kind of ironed in after that, right? A lot of people have accepted Hill and Dale as Abbasids, HRE, and China, for example. Or when you go to Danube, it has to be HRE and Delhi. But because of the way it's played out, this time we do not get both parts of that critical element in a 3-on-3 on Danube. Instead, it is going to be HRE, Delhi, and China versus China, Delhi, and Mongols. And I think this might be the first time that we're going to see Mongols on Danube River. I know it seems like I've been going crazy, but it's because I'm with the Rambo. It's because we've been waiting for the load in. We're finally there, though. Here we go, guys. We're getting underway. Pollos Hermanos took game 1. Danube River is the choice for game 2 from Vietnam Legends. And Vietnam Legends, as I said, with this twist, we do not see Mongols on Danube River. Not in 3-on-3s. This is going to be a rare treat. And you know what the cool thing is? Whenever we talk about these different teams, we get the ability to talk about victory conditions, right? What is your win condition? How are you going to close out this game? I think when I look at this game, and I talk about the difference of having HRE and Mongols, it's very clear what I'm about to mention, right? One is scaling late, the other one is early tempo aggression. The problem you have when you pick Mongols like this, though, is you don't have that tempo setter alongside you. China likes to play a little bit longer, look towards castle. Delhi is pretty chill and static. You don't have anyone to run with you until the mid-game. However, should you reach that powerful castle age timing, there is a scary timing around fire lancers and lancers that could run your opponents through, especially considering they picked 2 civs that can't brace. Remember, HRE and Delhi are bugged. Their spearmen do not brace. So one of your best choices to anti-cav isn't even available. Only one player can field it, and that's going to be your Chinese player. And the Chinese player has a hard balance because Lucifron in this game is going to be the critical detail in many regards. For a start, yes, you probably are going to be thinking of Spearmen because you need them to counter out all the cavalry that might be coming your way. But then also, you want Fire Lancers yourself. They're amazing for sieging bases and raiding. You also want the siege weapons, right? Yes, VortiX can cover that. HRE, they get so much surplus resource, they can actually afford the pricey bombards. But in an ultra late game stance, you want your Chinese player to be doing that because they get the gunpowder tech that reduces the reload time and makes them have the best siege weapons in late game in conjunction with the extra 50% health they get from the clock tower. So really, Lucifron has a lot of hats to wear, and it's going to make it very frustrating for him to find his correct place in this game. Meanwhile, when you talk about Vietnam Legends, if they just ramp up aggression early on, they have clear roles. Very clear roles. Like we said, crack those castles, run all of the cavalry over, and ACCM will be the back foot, right? He's the base builder. You know, you've got the frontliners that take ground, and then you've got the people who come through, and they just fortify a base. They make you a nice place. And that's going to be his role, as ACCM will look to fixate his attention on the central island and look for a staging point that will allow him to move in and win the game. One other detail that could be very important here, and it's a big detail behind why HRE has such a high pick rate on Danube River in these competitions, is because you race up to Imperial first, you tend to dictate the water due to explosives tech. And if explosives tech comes out quick enough and they control the chokes, there is a very easy point in which Los Pollos Hermanos can make this a 2-0 scoreline because they'll choke you out of the central island by holding you off with explosive tech boom ships. But really it is on China, I think, more than anyone else to tech up ahead. I think this is the race we're looking at, and you'd expect out of the central players. It's Cool versus VortiX. It's who can crack Imperial first. I think the only way that you're going to be able to beat VortiX is if you do find a way to pressure earlier on with your Mongol player, who can't really pressure right now. You can see the problem here. He's trying to burn stuff down, and it's a cute play, but you're up against Delhi. And this is one of the nice things about picking Delhi on the hybrid maps. You protect the waterfronts of yourself and your players because they can't cheese you off of water with an early scout rush. We've seen Marine Lord, for example, do that phenomenally well multiple times in the 1v1s in recent tournaments. It's just not an option available to you in 3-on-3 where Delhi's in the equation. Bact. Wait, has he invested? Yeah, he's investing hard in the scouts now. So he did drop the stable, right? So he's doubling up their production. In the meantime, VortiX will be the first to crack Feudal. Usually, this is the trip-up point. This is where you can actually catch a HRE player off guard and beat them to Feudal at least, so you can ramp up aggression. I'm a little bit concerned that he's the first one up and they're all behind him. This is because of his choice to not go on water, though. This is the sacrifice he made. It's also why he's dropped the Archon Chapel here instead of close to the wood lines. He's opting to prioritize his gold and look to tech up immediately in the castle as fast as possible. So VortiX has identified his win condition, and it really is around teching up as quickly as you can and then getting into that explosive tech we talked about. He's not concerned with size scaling and getting a huge surplus of food coming in off of the waterfront. He just immediately wants to get Imperial Age a minute faster. If he can do that, he can move the first wave of boom ships around, and he can delete Cool off this front. And if Cool ever gets pushed off the water, his game becomes phenomenally hard to find its place in. Meantime, everyone else still hasn't teched up. This really is the difference between going for Dock and not. Right? Dock is about how you gain value from 5 to 10. Ignoring Dock allows you to get that value upgrade between like 3 and 4 minutes on average, right? That's why a lot of England players, when we've seen them play on this map, we've seen Kelazor especially do this a lot, he doesn't rush Docks. He sticks on land, he gets the landmark down as quickly as possible and pushes out longbows and comes back for Dock later. Maybe even ignores it entirely and just denies his opponent's Dock. And that's a cool idea that you can apply, guys. If you're an early tempo type Civ, you could ignore Docks and instead just play Outposts on Danube River. If you invest that early surplus of wood into Outposts instead, you might not be scaling your own economy, but you deadweight your opponent's economy, right? Because each of these boats they build, these fishing boats, are 75 wood. So between the cost of the 150 wood and say you snipe 4 of these, you've basically paid for 4 outposts and then some, right? Because there's 450 wood that they would have sacrificed. So that's where we see that deviation. But in this game, not at all. In the meantime, Bact just stacking up even more of these scouts. I think he's planning to cheese. ACCM has got the walls down, so they can't be aggressive on the waterfront. And I think he's going to dive in and look to just assassino someone. Just block them out a little bit. It's very risky to do this on your own in a 3-on-3 situation. And nobody else is going to assist him with this. But it is going to draw a lot of attention. This is very gambly, though. Bact, if he does this and it backfires, he sacrifices so much of his early economy to do so. And you can see he already is doing that, right? He's the last up to make it into feudal. The scout's moving out. VortiX already walking out with the prelate. They see this. They should kill it, but they don't want to reveal their hand. They want to go for the docks instead. And here it is. Look what they catch. Mista actually building up the dock. He has got a Dow nearby. That Dow is already drifting past. It'll turn around now, but Villager's going to be sniped. And now he's going to burn this down. Unfortunately, he doesn't let that dock go up, but he can't afford to. If the dock goes up, he gets 50 food and gold. Because he doesn't, he gets nothing. Remember that they have to be able to be set on fire, and buildings that are half constructed cannot be set ablaze. Don't ask me how. It doesn't make sense. I know. Those are the rules of the Age of Empires universe, though. Sue me. Don't sue me. Please don't sue me. I ain't got money to give away. I'm not VortiX, okay? I'm not playing HRE. I'm not booming. Although VortiX isn't booming right now the way he'd like. Prelates going to be sniped out. More prelates moving out to the south side as we speak. And I think, is he returning any yet? Yeah. He's got one coming already. He gets close by one. That's going to be an easy bank. He should get at least 2 of these relics fairly easily at this rate. Meanwhile, Scout just still being frustrating. And no assistance out of the Delhi player. So Villager is going to be sniped successfully by ACCM. Nicely played to block him right in the coast corner so he couldn't move away. Meanwhile, counter snipe. Nice move. ACCM gets denied. That's going to take a little while to build as well. His villagers are all the way back here. So it's going to be a long walk to actually get one forward and build that dock up to completion. In the meantime, though, ACCM focuses on something else. He's teching up now. He might end up being easily the second person to crack Castle Age, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mista is about to match him. No. Mista's sidestepping. Yeah, he went to Arax. He's getting the Spearman out really early. I don't like this, but someone needs to address it, right? Look what's happening in the north. Lucifron already loses the dock, and he has to run away with the ships. You have to be careful as well, because you can get sniped out, remember. The scouts will go ranged form to shoot you with their bows. For some weird reason. They see you as game. But who's dealing with this? The fact that the Delhi player has to deal with it, I don't like. Lucifron should be the one dealing with it, but he's going greedy. And I'm not surprised he's doing this. He's in the tippity top corner, right? He's the furthest away from the action, so he feels justified in dropping a secondary TC. It means that he hasn't got the troops out. He's trying to fix that now with the racks, but now you're hemorrhaging, right? You're trying to fix the problems that have already emerged, and that is problematic. That's not a good situation to find yourself in, and Bact already finding value as the Mongols here on Danny. And we'll continue to do so. Snipes out another prelate. Only one relic banked. Is there a second one? Yeah, second one coming back soon. Really wants that third in this situation, though. He's not really going to be contested by anyone in terms of them gathering up the relics. It's the fact that they're leveraging the detail that he wants them to exploit his economy, right? By sniping out so many of these prelates. And remember, every prelate that gets sniped out is also going to be 100 gold loss, as well as a villager in your line loss, because you couldn't build that instead. These spears. There's not enough of them. He needs more here right now. This is a mistake, rushing back out to get this down, and it means you might get burnt off the waterfront again. Let's see, though. Villager is going to be sniped. Can't afford the villager loss. It's the dock that hurts. Remember, it's a 250 resource differential, right? You pay 150 wood, and then your opponent gets 50 food and 50 gold. And this is the play he needs. So Lucifron will poke and stab a few out. Delhi Spear's going to arrive as well. With the Barbican of the Sun down, he will protect this dock line. But it's a hard investment, and look what's happened on the south side in the meantime. Outpost has gone down. Bact's going to continue this. Lucifron doesn't have anything to defend the front. He needs war junks, and they're nowhere near ready. And I think, is he going ultra greedy? Bact he looks like he's considering this. There's no way he's thinking about dropping a dock, right? If he does this, they know he's here. This would have been great for like an aggressive outpost because no one's like defending this, right? But I think if you go for a dock, this is way too greedy. Meanwhile, Wolves going up from Mista, so nobody controls the strait anymore. Outpost going down will give ACCM some more leverage, though. And the raids continue to just be frustrating as the scout army is still alive. Bact has found so much value out of this. And he's going to spot the tech up. Compound and defender being built. I think if you animation cancel, yeah, you would kill him off. That's why he backs up. Mista is really paranoid. He's really weak right now. He needs to get into the man-at-arms. He needs to start getting the walls down. He's going to be the critical detail. He needs to actually wall up this west side to ensure that Bact can't raid in. Because like we said, when you talk about the team in the south, when you talk about Vietnam Legends, they're hard in the cavalry potential, right? Because they have a Chinese player and the Mongol player, they can spam all kinds of lancers. And that's what you have to be a bit paranoid about. Meanwhile, Outpost finally starting to go to work with the arrow slits will force these boats away. Remember, this arrow slit has bonus damage, as you can see, 10 for the bow, and then an extra 25 when you hit the ships. So you do sink the boats quite quick. And there it is, Mista, just stacking it up. Going hardcore in, but VortiX is the important detail. And he is going into Carracks. Not your usual pick, but he's prepping for later. The explosives text is already being researched, and this is the problem. You could be pushed off the water in the blink of an eye by this. This is the timing he was looking for. He also has 2 of these relics banked. Not optimal, but 2 is enough to afford these boats regularly. This Carrack is just about controlling the strait and getting rid of all these outposts that have been placed down. However, you are pop capped right now. That needs to be fixed. Very quick VortiX. I don't think he's even noticed yet. Oh, comes out just in time. Surprise, mother trucker. Bact is like, nope, that's a big boat. We don't mess with that. That's like showing up for, you know, just kind of an amateur martial arts tournament and discovering Chuck Norris as your opponent. He might be rickety, old, and a little bit slow, but my God, does he pack a punch if he still hits you. And that's what a Carrack is in this game. But he needs to be fast. You can't let yourself be matched on the waterfront. If VNS ever reaches a similar point, Bao Shuan's beat you out, your Carracks do not match. And also, if Boom Techs come out for them, well, let's just say China's going to reign supreme with a better build rates on their docks, right? 20% quicker. There we go. Carrack switching out to get through the outposts. You can just see how powerful the outposts are, though, right? You lost 400 health to this measly little outpost with only arrow slits. And ACCM moving out now with the elephants. Spears will be buffered back from Lucifron. The detail that matters is over here, though. Wall's now going down. Mista, I love this as well. I said he needed a wall here, but he's actually securing another chunk of the map, right? This corner's going to belong to them if he walls across here. And he was trying to do it up here. He might still get it down, yeah. Archers are coming out from ACCM. A very unorthodox choice for a Delhi player. And I think there's enough spearmen here that it doesn't work. And he might just get walled off and blocked. Meanwhile, boom, boom. He's through. Counter-explosive dows now coming out from ACCM, but they do not match what is going to be coming out from the HRE player at all. Everyone is up in Castle, but of course, VortiX still leading the pack up in Imperial, and it doesn't look like it's going to be matched anytime soon. Yeah, VortiX really the only one stacking up the resources. Lucifron might be the second person up in Imperial at this rate. That's a big power spike, but remember with his dock locations, he's far away from the action, so it's somewhat of a liability. And this Carrack needs to be repaired. He can't even get the other outpost yet. That's kind of frustrating. Here they come. Boom, boom ships. Oh, 2 for 1. Good value for ACCM. He needs more, though. This is too slow. Oh, my God. He made a mistake here. He's been greedy. He went for extended lines, so he's not producing double boom ship, which means that he will be reached by VortiX. And with the explosives tech and a manual detonation, you will very quickly blow up these docks. The timing on this might be even better. VortiX moving in now. Rows his boat. Half the health gone. If he booms this quick enough, it's going to be juicy. Meanwhile, all on the side. Does force them away long enough. And it looks like VortiX is going to secure his third relic. In the meantime, boom ship goes deeper. It doesn't stop at the dock. And ACCM wasn't paying attention. So that's going to be more of his economy being sniped out. Heavy damage done as well. Both these docks, one boom ship away from dying. And here we go. VortiX. ACCM's not paying attention still. Grandma must be giving him a phone call right now because he is not at the PC. Big mistakes being made. And once again, stuck by. ACCM, what is he looking at? He's building a new TC. He's not really dancing his elephant. He's building a central base. But this central base, you're going to need to make it a lot bigger because you're not going to be reinforced from the primary. You're now blocked off. Docks have fallen. Movement in. That's going to force a retreat out of VNS. He doesn't want to lose his economy. And you are going to be held ransom at the crossing here. Meantime, Prelet moving in. Needs a little bit of assistance. Oh, I think, yeah, he's going to live. This is a little bit wonky, but he's going to get the Prelet back. And Imperial Age cracked. And it is actually going to be cool. He beats Lucifron to the punchline, but Lucifron not even underway with this. In the meantime, raids continue out of Bact. Good job done by him there on the back. They need everything they can get. So he has to be doing this well. Fire Lancers are now riding out into the center. They could be a little bit frustrating. Really need to counter out to the elephants right now, though. It could just be elephant on elephant, so Mista's role could be simply that. But my big concern is the boom ships. The boom ships now coming out from 2 players. And my god, the amount that VortiX has here. This is problematic. This keep is bad as well. This is not the play he lost. No, he lost the villagers. He was trying to get down the keep to get the cannon installation to snipe them out. It doesn't work. And cool, now riding his own boats up here. If he catches VortiX stacked, he could punish him. But he's running out of ground to reinforce the waterfront from. And this is problematic. Meanwhile, scouts still running rampant. Haven't been addressed this entire bloody time. I can't believe the Valley Bact has gotten out scouts in this game. I've just got to give credit. Mongols has been doing a lot of work. The question is whether it's good enough. You really didn't hemorrhage anything away from VortiX. You didn't slow him down in his timings. And as a result, he's now dictating the flow. Admittedly, a big chunk of this is on ACCM. Microing, being distracted left, right, and center, right? He wasn't able to notice the ships. And it's an important detail that you should never be neglecting. It's such a big deal that you forget those details. And now look at the boom ships moving in. They ignore it. Cool is doing this as well. Cool is too busy building up his infrastructure in the center where he built his Spirit Way aggressively. This is a very gambly all-in play. And they can't get across the crossing right now. There should be boom ships stationed here. I say that, they're not there right now, though. Instead, they move in. Onto the keeps. Boom, boom, boom. Bye, bye, bye. Everything is just gonna fall. Keep on fire. Probably can't save it in time. More boom ships coming through in the meantime. Keep is gonna be lost. They need to guard the crossing, though. They see the raid coming in. Lucifer counters, and he has the numbers right now. This 4 base means you're a bit slow to get your troops out initially. You need time. However, I think, did they reveal that? I don't think Lucifer saw that detail. Really important. Meanwhile, elephants just going down the line, skirting and patrolling. But right now, the important detail to keep in mind is Cool does have a staging point. They need to guard the crossing near their base, otherwise he's going to move in. But look what's coming. VortiX, he's moving out with the bombards now. You need to get rid of these. If they ever find the Spirit Way and they get rid of this 4 base, you are miles behind Lucifron. And Lucifron now up in Imperial Age. He's ready to skyrocket. But he needs to get up to elite status first. Bombards need to be careful of those fire lancers. Man-at-arms will hold them at bay. Leverage found. VortiX is preventing reinforcements. They need to play to the west. That means that right now, Cool is on his own on this island. They can't help him. This is a problem. And Lucifron just looking to block off the crossing, right? He's going to raid into the economy with the pocket group. This is so smartly played. And they're out of position to stop him. Look how many villagers are here. Oh my god, he sees it as well. Lucifron, look at the damage it's about to do. Oh my god! What a reasonable and balanced unit, ladies and gentlemen. Cool taking a big dent into his villager line. He's not lost too many of them in the end because many of them are limping away on next to no health. But good god. We talk about demo ships. Well, this is their counterpart on land. They make big booms too. It's scary boom. Holy crap. Oh my god! How is that reasonable? Why is that a thing? The butchery! Lucifron is just dragging all the attention back, and he's still pulling them further back because 2 fire lancers would kill off a bunch of your villagers. You can't ignore them. Seriously, guys, it's 26 damage. Splash damage, in fact, against a 50 health unit. So you have to chase him down, and now look what happens in the center. He moves in. Lucifron's on the Spirit Way. And he's animation canceling. He's going to raise it to the ground, and you can't stop him. And this is starting to escalate quickly. Boom ships are keeping you away. You can't bring the forces back. You can't get across unless you want to lose them. And problematic, Cool. He might struggle to keep this up. Look at his numbers right now. He was already struggling to keep the push out of Lancers, but now they've lost that 30% discount. It means that Lucifron can move ahead in the boom ship. The detonation gets rid of Cool. The secondary one. Oh my god, VortiX. These brothers, they're more like psychic twins right now. They're reading each other's minds. They are so in sync that they could be a bloody boy band. And it is dismantling the Vietnam legends quickly. They're becoming myths at this stage. No one will believe they existed because there will be no evidence left of them by the time that all of these explosives have gone off. Here's the desperation, trying to take a fight like this. What's your intent? What's your plan? What's the follow-through? What is your motive to be here right now, Cool? To look cool? That's all I see. However, these bombards look a lot more cool. A lot hotter, too. Cannonballs tend to be a natural counter to Horse. They still, after all these years of existing ahead of cannons, haven't discovered a way to not die to them. And that's what's happening here, quickly. And now HRE whipping out the quality elite man-at-arms on the march. Everyone up in Imperial at this stage, but really, you wish there was a Tech 5 if you were the Pollos Hermanos right now, because you could easily afford it while keeping the pressure up. I don't think this outpost works. The moment he sees it and if he rides towards it, you're going to lose the outpost instantly to the boom ship. And meanwhile, Mista, look what he started doing. The shenanigans. He's getting the defenses down. He's burning through the outpost that ACCM has here. Bombard's getting through the central base, and Cool is becoming a liability. Right now, he's being put on ice. Bact gets the Lancers across. Boom ship is AFK VortiX. Waiting for a bigger army. He's not amused by the numbers. He says, no, no, no. My teammates can deal with that. And Luciferon, look at the stack value. Nice peel off by Cool. Doesn't give it to him. However, the heavy damage from the Bact's front line means that's not going to last long either. And look at the crawling from Mista. Wall after wall after wall. After Trump's own heart right now, the amount of wallage going on here from Mista, this is so scummy. But this is why you get compound of the defender, folks. This is powerful. And look at the sneak from the snake. Crossbows are going to come out. Hand cannoneers as well to counter him out. But look at that play. He stands on the wall. You can't kill him quick enough. He's going to get another tower up. These details. Mwah. This is how you play Delhi. This is what I've been waiting to see. No one has pushed it like this. It's always been elephants of cannon fodder in the center. Instead, this lad wants to build cannons. He's getting more stonewall towers up. Meanwhile, on the island, Luciferon running interception. Another demo ship is plopped. And the elephants are in for a penny in for a pound. And it's hunting season for the Bombard crew. They load their anti-elephant cannonballs and say these are actually just normal cannonballs, but they're quite effective. And everything is just going up in flames for Vietnam Legends. They have nowhere to extend anymore. We've seen previous games where teams get oppressed, but they can at least branch out to the west. That's not an option because of the move out of Mista. Keep in mind, a lot of this, although Mista's been pushing out some troops, a lot of this has really just been Luciferon. VortiX only arrived later. He was choking the point the whole time, and then half the forces of Mista were wrapping round to the west. So they actually had their opponents split and still were losing courtesy of the ransom factor of these boats, right? Of the demo ships at the crossings. This is the power of HRE. This is exactly why we see it picked so frequently with the Delhi here on Danube River, and it really is making the difference and giving Pollos Hermanos the game. Luciferon, just too many Fire Lancers here. Nothing that can match it. Meanwhile, the crawl continues. They never got rid of him. There's just more and more of these towers going up. And they are just getting danced around at this stage. And this central island, this central base from ACCM, he can't afford to lose it. It'll put him too far away from the front. He's being pressured on the home field and away. And his hand cannoneers are pricey as well. Every single one lost so easily. It's 120 food, 120 gold. You have to wonder if it was the choice against the Fire Lancers, but then you have to wonder, did he ever have another option? And I have to say no. There really wasn't many options available to you right now. Lancers possibly, but Lancers against Fire Lancers doesn't feel good. More demo ships riding up. Once again, just being choked out, and I just don't see how Vietnam Legends get out and play the game anymore. I mean, it's not even about getting out. I mean, they're definitely not getting out, but even when they stay in, they can't play the game. As the oppression from all of these walls that were placed by Mista are incredibly frustrating. And the forward base on the middle island is finally going to be burnt to smithereens. Just 2 stables remaining that aren't really useful here. And that's going to be the whole central expansion gone. The Gambit play has backfired. And now a staging point exists for Pollos Hermanos to ride forward. And that's what they're going to do. Mista already across the ford. Walls being dropped everywhere. The raids coming through from Luciferon onto the gold lines, stunting the growth of ACCM. And ACCM, remember, he needs every penny he can get. He was building hand cannoneers, and they cost way too much. You can see the burden on his resource front. Food is always capped. That's the last thing they need to expose. And if they do that, ACCM cannot play the game anymore. Although, can he play the game anyway? I think it's too much. Lucifron, look at this. He's about to ride straight into Bact's economy. He has no army here to defend himself. And the amount of villagers that are about to die, he calls it. He leaves. He says, I don't want to see it. I can't look at the butchery that's about to happen in Bact's base. And as a result, game 2 will go to Pollos Hermanos. Guys, it is finally time, though. We are here. In game number 3, Vietnam Legends are on the edge of the cliff, staring into the abyss, and they can hear the sound of the theme tune of Los Pollos Hermanos playing in the distance as they are coming in their chicken truck, ready to run them down and off the cliff. We're going to see if they can dodge and survive in game number 3. And it has to be here on Lipany. Lipany appearing in both series today as the third map. Will it be the bane of Vietnam Legends' existence as we have returned to the draft from game number 1, only this time with a difference? Cool is going to be playing flank as England, which means it's backed to having ACCM in the center and then backed in the north. I'm not a fan of this. I once again need to reiterate, the better way of doing this is ACCM being in the north, then backed in the center. The only reason I can imagine they've done this is because they're paranoid that there might be an aggressor in the north that could pressure you, but it's not the case. It's just France. I say that as if France can't pressure you, but I'm saying it's not a civ that can end you, right? It's not like if you leave them up here with Abbasids or England, there might be like a threat there. But overall, I don't think you need to stick ACCM in the center. I don't think Rus is this greedy of a civ that it justifies a central placement. Unless you have 2 ultra-aggressive outer civs, right? Where, for example, in this situation, it makes sense to me why Pollos Hermanos put VortiX in the center, because when you look at the north, you've got a French player there, and then when you look in the south, you've got a Mongol player there, right? I think with your lineup, you want to have that scalability of France not being pressured. Because as we've seen in previous series, usually when you talk about these matchups, these similarities, where there's the double cav and then something else, usually the detail that matters is which French player gets access to castle quicker. And if you put Bact in the center, he would be less threatened and more capable of cracking castle ahead of his counterpart. Meantime, another detail that is going to matter is how many people are going to get pro scouts. Because remember when we saw game 1? Something a little bit weird and unorthodox, a little bit wacky, in fact, when I look at this compared to other series, is the fact that both sides had 2 players going for pro scouts. Very unusual. Not something that we see often, mainly because it's such a greedy sync at this stage in the game. You can see the cost right there, 75 with 275 gold. Now, it's not too bad when you have France on your side. It becomes more affordable, right? Because France gets a 30% discount on eco. But it's still a big sync. If you think about what you can get for that, that's an extra knight in the early game. And even 1 knight extra showing up to these early battles can be a big difference maker that makes you lose these fights. So everything calming for the moment, just people trying to get their bounties together. Number-wise, VortiX already cracked the tier 2. I expect his counterpart in ACCM to be, up at 330. He's doing better. Should be feasible for them to both reach that number, that golden number of 500 with great ease. Question is whether we're going to see a switch from Abbey to Trinity. We were treated to that when we watched Kyo All Fallen earlier, when we saw the hunting cabin, the big juicy hunting cabin come out, aka the High Trade House. Should be the other way around. High Trade House is the actual name, which gives you on average about 100 gold per minute. It's basically just a juiced up hunting cabin that generates deers, which is nice to safely garner the needed count on bounty to get into the tier 3 unlock. But overall, like I said before, when you play these big 3-on-3 engagements, it's not the end of the world. If you don't go for hunting cabin, I keep on hunting cabin now, the High Trade House, you can easily crack the tier 3 with the boars. It's just a case of boar generation is usually what dictates it. In this map, I could see them both easily not needing the High Trade House, courtesy of the fact that the boars are centralized, all 3 of them, in fact. Compare that to when we see Dry Arabia. Dry Arabia, that's one big difference, is typically 2 of the boars are positioned far away on the outskirts, not on the central mounds like they are here. So VortiX, once again, going to be the first person up into feudal. ACCM is lagging somewhat behind, even invested 8 people to try and keep up. And VortiX already cracked that mark, gets up into the tier 3, and now he's more efficient. This small detail will ripple, because right now ACCM still hasn't cracked the 3rd tier, which means that VortiX, if they're on equal numbers perfectly doing the same thing, VortiX is going to be ahead by an extra 5% gathering rate, which will slowly add up over time. There's the spam through. Mista, what is the opening here? That's one thing to highlight, because he got the Uvu far away. Yeah, so he didn't do what he usually does, where it's a Pasha next to the Uvu. Instead, he drops a Pasha safe close to home. The interesting part to look out for is whether he's going to get some relief from VortiX. VortiX might look to drop off some carcasses here, but of course he couldn't afford the gap in the beginning, which is why Mista drops the Pasha right away. And that means he offsets his aggression. He's going back for the stable now, and no intent to get pro scouts by the looks of it. I wouldn't expect it, but given the amount of gold he's saving up, it might be a double pro scout this direction instead, which is unusual because usually, yeah, it's Lucifron going for it. Is this going to be trip pro scout? That is insanely greedy if Pollos Hermanos decides to go trip pro scout. I feel like they're going to just because there's a stable already being built. But this actually could just be Mr. Prepping, right? He could very easily just hold on to this until he has the Lancer. But nice block coming out from Cool. He's like, where the hell are you going? Needs to micro it correctly at all times. Yep, moving quicker than you can to try and actually get that down. You're going to need to bring a scout back to deal with this. Yep, there we go. Nice move out of VortiX. He'll cover this. Otherwise, it's pretty damning. Like, it would take a long time, but they could easily burn this down. Cool could have optimized this. He could have actually drawn the sheep out, even after he leaves, but he doesn't want to lose those sheep early on. So we'll go down. As I said, I don't think Mr. is going pro scouts. No. So this doesn't harm him. It's frustrating, but it doesn't stun him in any way. He does want the horseman by the looks of it, which is interesting. We have seen him do this before, but there's already spears, so Cool calibrated differently this time around, right? When he was a central player, there wasn't really any spears coming out. It was just lombos and teching up. This time, though, he's looking to set the aggressive pace of this game, and that's exactly why you pick England on these 3-and-3s. Lucifron riding out in the meantime. Scouts returning the goodies. I believe we look at the tech situation. Yeah, so it was pro scouts here. Obviously, England would never take pro scouts, but 2 players taking it on the west and 2 players taking it on the east, just standardized across the board. The Hail Mary really is going to be England, but it's a case of whether you can get enough pressure early on. Khan is being frustrating, drawing them away, buying time for the horsemen to arrive, and you need to keep condensed here. You can see the immediate move over by the spears. Have to be careful these ones, folks. This isn't the Delhi and the HRE. These guys actually brace, and if you get held in place as early horsemen, they will die very quickly. More scouts just moving out, grabbing more of the goodies from Lucifron. Lucifron, how are we looking on the count right now? Is he raiding? Or is he just behind on the knights? I think he's just behind on the knights. He's got 2 knights out in the field max. And I can't even see where the other one is. So vastly behind that Bact. Bact already having 2 aggressively up in the field. And I think he's got a 3rd coming soon. Yeah, he drops a stable. It's going to be a mixture of horsemen and knights. This is a cool idea. You just cannon fodder these so your knights don't lose a big chunk of their health. Because right now, you don't want to stop off the chivalry until you've got like 6, maybe 7 knights in the field in a 3-and-3. Speaking of which, Lucifron actually goes very early. The moment he has 3 knights, he decides he wants chivalry. And is baiting Bact in, so Bact will have to back away. Shunt into the back to help him get out quicker. Meanwhile, on the south, movement in now. VortiX says, I'll be there soon, buddy. Just hold on. But for now, I'm going to take all your goodies. Miss is like, oh, well, that seems... Wait a second. Those are my foods. Not anymore. The Roost tax man has come, and he will leave you absolutely nothing. Come on. Drop him off 1 or 2, maybe. Be reasonable here. And the outpost being snaked in by Cool. He's starting to ramp up. Blacksmith should already be down. No, he hasn't dropped it yet. So he is behind in that regard. He needs the Blacksmith so he can get access to the battering rams, and then he can look to move in and start to shut Mr. down. Mr. is skirting it. He should be able to actually tech up before the tech comes out. Because remember, you now have to get the wood. You have to build the siege workshop, rather. Siege workshop? One words tonight. Blacksmith, and then you need to get siege engineering, right? That's going to take you about at least a minute. I think that's the amount of time Mist is going to need to gather up the remaining resources to get a tech up, but he's being pressured right now. Outpost in place to defend. Needs to target the spearman, though. Missed opportunity. Is going to garrison in now, so volley of arrows going the way of the longbowmen, ironically. And just buffering this. Meanwhile, in the north, Lucifron is getting in position. He's forced a double outpost out of Bact. Notice that Lucifron didn't do the same. His gold vein isn't at the front of his base, it's behind, so he doesn't feel this is a necessary action. But he might be forced into it and regret it in a sec. Bact, look at this backstab. Lucifron being distracted on the front by the Horsemen. This wraparound is going to reach maximum effectivity as they ride in and strike. And Lucifron pulling back, will lose 3, make that 4 of the villagers in retreat. Actually, no, that was 3 in the end. Weird kind of start step coming out. We'll counter out with the Knights of his own now. And it looks like Bact, what is his count at? I think he's falling behind. He's up at 15. Lucifron sitting up at 16. So Lucifron is starting to pull ahead. VortiX moves out. Time to punish cool, he says. There's only one person cool in this game, and it is me. And that is a hefty investment. Drops the 1 outpost halfway through constructing the second. And there's a Mongol player here, folks. So if you can give him the burn, you'll feel good about this. Scouts in the meantime are going to start getting through this outpost. The Longbowmen and the Villager inside are not going to last long. Knights in the north from Lucifron do have to retreat away in the meantime. They're looking for raid opportunities. And TheMista, this is a big stack of horsemen moving around. ACCM needs to be a little bit careful about the way he approaches this. He could be caught out and he could lose a bunch of these archers. There we go, outpost down. So cool, not really getting that much aggression. TheMista wasn't stunted that hard. He's now making his way up to castle. However, Cool is stuck here. Cool heavily invested. He went for a second TC. This is one of the most greedy England players I've seen in the 3-on-3s. This is the most greedy England player I've seen in 3-on-3s. We haven't seen many, but he definitely takes the title there. The question is whether it will pay off when he's on the flank like this. I think he needs it because he's lost his flow now. There's no bounce back, right? There's no insta, I'm going to do this next aggressively. Your only choice is to now eco-scale. It's now up to ACCM and Bact to carry that mid-game with their cavalry. Horse archers are amassing in the north. I like the way they're playing away from England. They don't know that England has gone full defensive now. Otherwise, they'd be on the south side. They want to address the French player. They want to give leverage to Lucifron. If Lucifron can move ahead of Bact and tech up first, that's how most of these games get decided on Lipany and Dry Arabia, is which French player is ahead. And look at it, keep ahead. Bact wraps straight into the eco lines. Lucifron not in position, being raided in multiple locations here. And I don't think they're going to be able to punish. Bact can peel away from this quick enough if he just moves. But moves the wrong way. And I think he's going to lose the Knights. Sticks on top of the villagers. Not able to get any more, though. Will back away, but heavy hits into his Knight line. But now, Bact sitting up at 47 eco. Meanwhile, Lucifron down at 36. That's an 11-point difference. So they need to ride out now. And that is why VortiX is already on the way. He wasn't needed to repel that force. He just needs to get in now and punish the counterpart here. Make sure that Bact doesn't get as easy in a game as he wants. And everything's chill in the south. Cool is not feeling any pressure at all. TheMista is switching. I was about to say, it should be time. So Lancers are starting to stack. In the meantime, it's just the Horsemen in the north. Because he had 8, that was good enough to upgrade to Vet. So they are going to be handy. Especially if they do encounter ACCM. But his goal now is to get enough of these Lancers to raid west. He needs to get in and punish Cool for not showing up to these fights. Otherwise, Vietnam Legends are going to get away with what they're doing. And Lucifron riding in. He has more Knights right now. Forces the retreat away, the full garrison, the pullback. And now you can turn around and look to burn down the outposts. The turn and burn is good as well. And there's not enough Knights here. Bact needs some relief. It is coming. Round the back. ACCM has more horse archers for the moment. But the Knights are going to turn onto him. And they get the charge in. They're straight on top of him. He runs straight through him to force a retreat. Now the engagement back, trying to backstab, but can't get in. It's too dangerous. They're going to have to pull away. More horse archers coming out, though. ACCM not giving too much ground, but a lot of dead green horses on the ground right now. He's paying the price to hold. And with the horseman now here, he's heavily threatened. TheMista, although he doesn't have the Yam, these horsemen move fast. 1.88. And he does have the speed arrow, so he can get in quickly. And Bact, what is this? Horsemen were out on patrol, I guess. They're not going to be helpful at all. 3 players right now are locked into Tech 2. One of them is Cool. The other 2 are the French players, as expected. But the fight's about to go underway. And Lucifron still has the edge on the French count. More Knights here for him than there are for Bact. And Bact not able to engage as a result. Who garrisoning the outpost to try and poke and prod. But ACCM is in full retreat and being chased the old way. They'll turn around now and look to burn these down. They'll force the engagement. Bact has to defend here. He has to hold. Defense arrow coming out. Everyone here is getting buffed up, including the French line. Lucifron's going to be able to hold it while they just turn and wrap on him. And they'll come back in towards Bact. Bact running out Knights quickly. ACCM running out Horse Archers just as quick. And now he's going to expose the economy. And there's not room to protect all of them. Bact is going to lose several villages and also is unable to get any resources as everything in his base is going to grind to a halt. The one thing working is the goal line to the north. If that gets found, he will be out of this game. Reinforcements arriving again. Longbow finally here. That's what was missing the whole while. This has been a 2-on-3 the entire way, but cool. Can he make a difference? No, the horsemen come in. They catch him out of location, and now he's in too deep. ACCM has sold him out. The spears do arrive, but it's not going to be good enough. They're being kited while the longbowmen are being pulled apart. TheMista keeping those spears busy, dragging them back. The horsemen not able to get their full stab value, but they're not needed because the horse archers are the ones doing the business. And Knights continue to chase him down. Cool in a little bit of a pickle, is at least teching up. White Tower feeling extra defensive. However, where are the defenses for Bact? Bact can't use this gold feint, and they're going to realize very quickly he has to go north, right? There's no way that he stopped grinding the gold altogether. You can't as France. That's the most critical resource for you. And here they go. Once more into the breach. Bact going to try to garrison up. Scouts are going to start burning down with the Knights here as well. They'll get through this outpost in the blink of an eye. Horse Archers in, picking them apart. And after taking a lead in the north, now Lucifron sitting up at 50 villages, Bact now down at 45. All that damage he'd done has been reversed. And the count still looks good for the side of Pollos Hermanos. Horse Archers moving across, baiting ACCM in. He's getting a little bit too close to the sun and he might get burned. Needs to back off, still doesn't have the count. In fact, he's almost 10 up over him. And he's not on his home field. ACCM still not able to outnumber VortiX. Everyone is ignoring Cool, but everyone is butchering Bact. And more butchering to occur as the villagers get surrounded. One will be left alive. You always leave one as a witness, so they can explain what happened here. And ACCM, he might get wiped again. Yep, he's been picked. Gets a bit too close, not on point, not microing correctly, and now all sacred sites are under the control of Pollos Hermanos as they will give themselves a different way of winning this. 1650 will be about the timer where it starts counting down, 10 minutes away from winning. This is where you have to come out. This is where the cavalry reigns supreme here on Lipany as well as usually Dry Arabia, because if you can't move out in the center, if you're always on the defensive, how the hell are you ever getting rid of that victory condition? ACCM, he does it. He decaps over here, so we will get rid of that quickly. Nice move by him to at least alleviate the pressure somewhat, but they are still under siege. Bact just trying to recover. A moment of silence will enter. No one is butchering anyone. What a weird occurrence, considering how long they have been relentlessly diving. They realize this is the land map. Diving's reserved for people like Michael Phelps. They need to compose a strategy and look to move forward. And right now, their strategy is holding the mid-ground. But what's the next step? Are they looking for a tech up is the question. Lucifron, is he almost ready? Lucy, look at the resources. No. He's just replenishing the Knights at all times. The good news is Bact is doing the same. So it's not like he's going to be outpaced into the castle. And no TC, so not going greedy either. Bact can't try for this because he's now under pressure at all times. There is going to be a second TC over here from ACCM, though. Starts to build it now. Needs to ramp up. No similar play out of VortiX. VortiX should be initially stronger here. He's always stayed ahead. And this is why ACCM's making this gamble. However, he might come under fire. Instead, it's going to be Bact again. Bact does back up just in time. Protects the 5 villagers out here. Has a finite economy right now. Not able to field enough Knights. You can see that Lucifron is still outmatching him on the count. Really awkward. Nice little charge in. Picks one apart. Death by 1,000 cuts for this French player. His back is fallen behind. And there's the TC. So VortiX a little bit behind ACCM, but he can afford to be considering he's ahead on the military front right now. And also the difference is his French player is thriving, right? Bact is slowly dying. They need relief. They need it soon. And this is the guy who got all the time in the world, but cool, he's still not ready. He recently teched up, but look at what Mr. is doing to him. The Lancer army engages, and now it's starting to punish the greed of Cool for not being present for so long. And so many villagers are going to die here. Butchers a bunch. crossbowmen trying to move across. An unorthodox change, but a needed one. We see longbow so often, but this is the solution. The problem is, can you get enough of them? There are so many lances here, and the Magadai as well are a problem. They chase deeper. They strike deep into your army, into your economy, and Cool is going to be halted here. He has to stick everything on hold. So many villagers garrisoning, and so many being butchered in the meantime. A chill moment sets in. It looks like, is that all three under their control again? No, VortiX still needs to cap over here. ACCM though, so on point, just taking it away from them each time. Really important he does this, denying that condition, buying them time, kicking the ball down the road. The problem is, where does that road lead? And right now, it looks like it leads into a highway full of Los Pollos Hermanos vans, looking to deliver you chicken, but also to scrape Vietnamese people off of their wheels, because these lads are up against the wall right now. Wait, what? Big fight. Apologies. Looks like there was an equal trade for the most, but VNS, quick across. Cool does get in position now. However, he's out of place to defend his own base. There's more raids are going to happen in the south. So these trades are even despite that. In fact, when we look at the military count, VortiX has been butchering so many people. He's going to continue to do so. He's out microing. ACCM is not doing this right. He's not min-maxing. He's never sniping them out instantly. Crossbows are now arriving alongside the longbow. That can turn it and force him away. But this is just pulling him further out. Cool is even further away from his own economy. And look at the move forward. In it comes. The trebs are being built. The siege workshops are down. TheMista is going to look to pull them left to right. And the tech up is there. TheMista. He was snoozing for a while, but it's actually going to be the Mongol player cracking up into Imperial first. And he gets away with this as well, because Cool was greedy. And now Cool is in trouble. Bombards will be built soon. Seems to the moment it's going to be a Treb choice, but you could easily go Bombards here. Cool has no way of defending against that. And it's becoming problematic. All such as retreat further away. You never have to engage. You're just dragging him away. The further he runs, the further he's away from defending his own base. And even though he's building a defense force, this defense force feels somewhat pitiful. Line formation, nice choice. Min-max your damage. TheMista looks to engage. Defense arrow, so he's fairly tanky against this, and will get in range of the crossbows. Crossbows not able to move away quickly. Trebs starting to stack up onto the White Tower. Meantime, Lancers are going to get rid of all the crossbows. Means you haven't got that much effective DPS up against these heavily armored units. He's being pushed back again. The Magadai just moving forward and picking them apart as the Lancers distract them. And now the Mangonels chasing in. Mangonels with Yan movement speed, up at one tower movement. Able to force you away. Still no Bombards yet, mind you. Kind of a weird choice out of TheMista. Missing the punch that he could have. Not able to afford it right now. Can't afford to let the White Tower go down, though. Once that's gone, it's going to expose so much of your base. Springles are now coming out. They need to move forward. Lancer production continues. Fights in the north pushing in. VortiX poking and prodding and going back in with Lucifron, looking to raid onto Bact once more. Bact forced to retreat away to the back of his base. And that White Tower needs repairs. Everyone, every man and child get a hammer in their hands. They need the help. Because the Lancers and the Magadai are starting to reach in. You don't have enough troops in position. New groups trying to arrive as we speak. They do fall back from the north, but they're so slow to arrive, and it means that this White Tower will end up falling eventually. Magadai, fall back for the moment. No wood, and that's Danger Town. 3 Trebs is good enough now. The White Tower is going to fall, and then they will flood in. The only good news is there's not enough of them to flood yet. Magadai still trading out reasonably well. The Mangonel needs to hit this main cluster here. Longbows will back up. Heavy hit, though, nonetheless. Everything's calmed in the north, but the only reason things are calm in the north is because everything's accessible by VortiX. They once again start triggering that Sacred Site victory condition. However, they're riding in now. ACCM, he needs to turn this back, but what are you going to sacrifice in the north is the question. Rides in on top of the traction trebuchets. Mangonels coming in on you. Nice split, though, with the staggered formation. Means it can't min-max, but now he groups. Big mistake here. Second Mangonel shot out. Heavy damage done. Lancers will pick you apart. Meanwhile, in the north, look what's happening in your economy. VortiX, he moves in here, and he might discover the expansion of Bact as well. There's not enough room to garrison everyone. It's full retreat. ACCM taking a heavy hit into the eco count. They might just move north now. They reveal it. The warrior monks see this, and Bact in trouble. There's not enough room for all of his villagers here. Meanwhile, in the south, fight is going to continue. And they're getting through the infrastructure. That's going to slow down the regeneration rate of the front line for Cool. And he is running out of room to retreat to. The Magadai and the Lancers, they're coming out in too big a quantity for him to deal with. And the Horse Archer army has spent ACCM being pushed on both fronts and struggling to respond. And they are actually going to call it. They're done with this. We said it would be death by 1,000 cuts, and the back and forth dance cannot continue. The music will cease. And it is going to be Vietnam Legends stuck holding the bomb that's going to blow up in their face. And that does mean the journey ends, ladies and gents. A 3-0 victory coming out for the Pollos Hermanos here. Apologies, it seems that my UI decided to break out a different game from a different day. I really don't know how it keeps doing this. But no, the score is going to be 3-0 in favor of Pollos Hermanos here in the final quarterfinals as they will proceed through. And tomorrow we'll have to face off against Kyoto Fallen. And commiserations to Vietnam Legends. A great effort, but we talked about this, right? We talked about the issue, the kind of static nature in which they're playing these drafts, the fact that they never had a grander game plan. I will at least give them this. This time around, they provided more. They provided ideas, right? There was a kind of fallback plan. I like the way that Cool played England and then backed off and tried to boom up. My issue is this, though. The action is always on the north, and we see the prime weakness of running static civs in this situation. If you aren't able to dictate flow at all, and you don't have hybridization, aka the ability to go into cavalry yourself, all that happens is exactly what is occurring in the north. Los Pollos Hermanos don't engage with you. They play north instead, where you can never make the difference, and they need you up there. You see the ACCM and Bact outmatched. And I think ACCM, by the way, big crime here, doesn't Bact quick enough. I'm going to stop saying that one of these days. Because VortiX and Lucifron are always getting raids in. ACCM is always outmatched out of position. And then Cool is always too far away to reinforce with longbows. These details add up. It means that Bact is just made to be this wall. This wall that is eventually being cracked through. And he cannot play 2 versus 1 or 3 versus 2 this entire game. But the way that they structure the draft and their choice of map, by the way, they chose Lipany, is what puts them under here. They're so obsessed with England and how Cool can maybe find a way to like branch it off and make it work on these dynamic open maps that they're missing the ability to exploit it on maybe more choke point oriented maps or where the cavalry civs aren't available, where it can be a difference maker. And instead, they will give it over. It will be a 3-0 win. Commiserations to Vietnam Legends as it is going to be Los Pollos Hermanos moving through to the semifinals. With only 2 days remaining, you now have your 4 final teams. It is going to be pretty stacked as well. I think a lot of us were expecting most of these outcomes as actually rounding out the day. When we look at the leaderboards now, the final 4 teams are going to be Beastie on the Strail Boris, who knocked out Ethan Fans. You're going to have White Wolf Palace that took down Get on the Deer 3-1. Kyo All Fallen, who eliminated VCL in brutal fashion 3-0. And finally, the final brutality of the day, Los Pollos Hermanos sinking Vietnam Legends' hopes here 3-0 and sinking the dreams of the Vietnamese as both of those teams will fail to make it through the semifinals. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you for watching. We have had some fantastic matches here on the channel, but the day is over. A fairly quick one compared to day one. A lot of fast, rapido games here, but we are going to come to a close. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, if you are new here, make sure you follow on the Twitch side. Make sure you follow me on the Twitter to know what I'm doing, and make sure you go across the YouTube side and subscribe, like the videos, because that's where everything gets uploaded for you to watch. And once again, just shout out and thank you for your guys' support. Wouldn't be able to do it without you. I love to see you guys tuning in. I love the way you engage in the chat, as you can see people on the side. I love the comments, the feedback. I just love the support. It's been overwhelming in some cases, but that's going to be it. For those wondering why you're not going to see more of the 3v3 action, the reason is that I'm going to be working another event, so this is the end of my coverage. If you want to catch more coverage, make sure you go across and check out Lidcore. Shout out to him for running this 3v3 tournament. Him and Microsoft getting together to get the money, the moolah, the $20,000 that these people were fighting for that got everyone so interested. So go support him, show him some love. But I'm done, guys. Thank you for watching. It has been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you again very soon when I'm casting a different tournament.